Hey everyone, Dr. Jason West and my friend and healthy living expert Jesse is here with us, and we are putting together a program on life and food and health and medicine and why medicine is food and food is medicine. And so anyway, this is our second segment in doing this, and we just wanted to create some value and some structure and some content that's really going to make a difference for you out there. So Jesse, in your travels across the world, you've seen different cultures and things like that, and you've seen that there's people that are living healthy in all the different places, but there's a commitment to be healthy, and it's a commitment to eat right. And so one of the things I'd like to do with the segment is to give people, 4, maybe 5 rules of what they can do immediately to be healthy. And so let's just kind of hit that at a high level. Most people come into my office and they recognize what they shouldn't be doing, but they kind of need someone to nudge them and say they shouldn't be doing. And they got it in their heads that food that tastes good is not healthy for you. And so I wanted to debunk that myth and say, look, you know what, you can have good tasting food that tastes good for you, but why don't you kind of outline like how you perceive food in the American sickness paradigm, and then what people can like start doing to have better life outside of the healthcare system?
Sure. That's a really big, excellent question. First of all, I think that in the U.S., we tend to think of healthy food as bland and, raw vegetables and avoiding fat and all that different stuff. And there's a lot of fallacy in there. And so let's get into, about 4 or 5, we'll say, strategies to healthy eating that's still done very much abroad that we've really lost here. We used to do a lot of it, but much less so now. And I want to start off with what I think is the most important, which is sticking to traditional fats and oils. And like you said, I think a lot of people have a pretty good idea of many things that's detrimental to their health. One thing I think a lot of people have almost no idea about, that's maybe one of the most important things, is avoiding vegetable oils. So corn oil, cottonseed, many, many different things fall under vegetable oil. And so people should be sticking to traditional fats and oils, also called lipids. And these include butter, lard, olive oil, coconut oil, fats and oils that have been around for a very long time.
And it's not so simple as it just being saturated or unsaturated. Like, this is one of the takeaways that we had after our last discussion, because so many people have said, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that if it's a solid at room temperature, it's bad for you, and if it's a liquid at room temperature, it's good for you? I'm like, no. We're getting off into some myths here. One of the most frustrating myths that I deal with on a constant basis is that if you eat fat, you're going to be fat. I mean, this whole low-fat thing, this low-fat craze, it drives me bonkers. Matter of fact, one of the sickest patients I've worked on was a lady that just wanted to look at, she'd never, ever ate fat. And so you can imagine the train wreck that's coming after a couple years of saying, I'm not going to get fat, I'm not going to eat fat. And healthy fats are so important. And after we talked and you said it's vegetable fats that, or vegetable oils that are so harmful for you, I started reading about that, and guess what, man, you're right.
Oh yeah. It's a huge problem, and it's around, I think, the 1880s that we started to introduce vegetable oils, also known as commercial seed oils, into the diet, and it's very unnatural. It's very detrimental to health. And so starting out, usually we call something a fat if it's solid at room temperature. If it's liquid at room temperature, usually we call it an oil. There are some exceptions in there, but that's the basis. People think that fats are going to clog the arteries. They've given a bad rap. It's really not true. Like you said, healthy fats and oils are very important for good health. We should be having lots of them. They're important for heart health, even though a lot of people think that animal fats cause heart disease. It's very untrue. So, so it's not as simple as whether it's solid room temperature or not. Basically, if it's unsaturated, it's more susceptible to damage from oxidation. And so these need to be cold pressed and protected.
So we're
from the
talking
air.
about healthy fats and healthy oils. And just from a healthcare provider standpoint, it's kind of like if you don't have those fats and oils, you're like the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz. Like you don't have any oil.
Mhm.
You can't protect your nerves. Your brain function doesn't work. You can't make hormones. You can't generate energy. You can't stay warm in the wintertime. And like so there's some of those classic things. So if people are out there saying, well, why did they start off with fats? What would you recommend or suggest people do for healthy fat intake, and why that's kind of a neat place to start? Eliminating seed oils and vegetable oils. That's not what we want to have in the system, even though so many people are like, well, it's healthy because it's vegetable oil. No. That's a bastardized product that is going to, like, it's setting you up for ill health down the road. But how does someone get into the healthy fat pathway, and why is it the place where you decided to start?
So the reason I decided to start there, as you kind of alluded to, it's absolutely necessary for the body to function correctly, to make cells in the body, to make hormones. We need fat, we need lipids, and so with the best way to get into it, honestly, I think, is quality butter. Quality butter tastes great. It can deal with a fair amount of heat without getting damaged. It's a good mixture of saturated, monounsaturated, and I think a little bit of polyunsaturated, which all fats and oils are a mixture of those. It's a great all-around mix. Is quality butter, pasture-raised cows.
Okay, so we want to avoid vegetable oils. We want to get healthy fats and healthy oils into the system. Your recommendation is a good, high-quality butter. How do people get that into their system? Because so many times people think, well, I'm at high risk for cardiovascular disease. I'm going to avoid butter.
Yeah. First of all, you just got to forget what you've learned about.
Don't let your education get in the way of your intelligence.
That's right. Don't fear cholesterol. Don't fear saturated fats. Don't fear animal fats. They are good. They have been around a long time. Vegetable oils have not. They're new. They're bad for you. So the hardest thing is just getting over that hurdle. We've been indoctrinated, and it's very hard to deprogram those very learned things. So first of all, just get through it mentally. And then how to get butter in the system? Man, how not to? I put butter on just about everything. I cook my eggs in it. I put it on sourdough toast. What else? Butter. What about you? What do you like on butter?
I like butter on baked potatoes. Like,
yeah.
I don't think that potatoes are near the bad food that a lot of people think. It's how the potatoes are prepared.
Yes.
Right? So potato chips, not so good. French fries, not so good. Baked potatoes, man, it's a great source of vitamin C and complex carbohydrates, and there's some protein. Anyway, I just really like that. So I love butter in that approach. I like butter on my cooked cereal with a little bit of with the honey in the morning. It's one of those stick to your ribs breakfast. So I tell patients, look, when you get ready to start the day, you should have like something that your grandma would make, right? And that that's not a coffee shop, and that's not a fast food restaurant. I like eggs as a protein and a fat source. I like cooked cereal. There's definitely breads that are better than others. I'm not anti-bread. I am cautious bread.
Right. Correct.
So that maybe that's a better way to say it. So like butter in the system. So my goal for this segment is I wanted to give a couple different value things. One, we said avoid seed oils, get healthy lipids in the system. Butter is your number one recommendation. And kind of some other quick takeaways. What are some of the other pillars that people can start on this food journey? Because you are what you eat and you are what you absorb.
Sure. Real quickly, a few notes on what we just mentioned. I just want to say fries and chips aren't necessarily bad. If you buy them in the store, there's a high likelihood they're filled with vegetable oils. If you make them at home, if you make homemade fries and use butter or good oils and fats, then they're great. So I just want to throw that out there. And then also another reason why it's so important to get a quality fat, especially in the morning, is it's very satiating. You're going to feel more full and satisfied. And if you don't, you're going to be reaching for convenience foods full of vegetable oils and sugar.
You're looking for that crutch. And the crutch for so many people is caffeine, it's an energy drink, it's additional cups of coffee, it's a donut, it's a candy bar, or it's the worst healthy food, which is granola bars or protein bars. Like they're so not healthy,
Right.
but they've marketed it in such an amazing way that people think that they're healthy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so,
So-
now what?
Yeah. So a few other pillars, if you will, strategies for a healthy lifestyle. One is meat cooked on the bone. So here in the U.S., a lot of times if you get meat, it's deboned, it's boneless, skinless chicken breasts. It's soup that's cooked without the bones. There are so many great nutrients in the bones, and those nutrients are really important for meat digestion. So making a soup with meat on the bone, making bone broth, and having that with your meal, very, very important. I lived for quite a while in China, and to have boneless meat is almost kind of unheard of over there. A lot of the dishes you eat around the bones, and you spit them out, and including fish. And it's just the way things have been done for so long, used to be done here, and is very important for health. Bones are one of our nutrient reserves, and so cooking with those nutrient reserves, helping those nutrients come out into the meat and the broth and the soup is very important. So that's number one.
Okay, number two.
Number two is organ meats and the other parts of the animal. So in the U.S., not so long ago, it was considered very important to get liver in the diet once or twice a week. Not so common anymore.
Not so common. Matter of fact, I almost rather take a pill than eat liver. But that's because I haven't had liver prepared the right way.
Sure. Prepared the wrong way, it's pretty gross. It's got a pretty distinct taste. Prepared right and with the right condiments, it's absolutely fantastic. Along with liver, there's kidney. There's one of my favorite dishes in China was brains. Absolutely delicious. Other parts of the it's so good. Other parts of the animal, pig trotters, pig feet. Fish eyes are another great part of the animal. You don't have to eat all of these, but
Right.
these are all great stores of different
Now,
nutrients.
the initial visceral reaction to that is, I'm like not paying attention to these guys. What is Dr. West doing? But it's culture, not so much nutrient value. Like we've got away from. I was reading a book. I'm trying to think of the name of the book where they were talking about, the animals on the Serengeti Plains, the lions and the hyenas. Like when they kill an animal to eat, what do they eat first?
The organs.
They'll eat where all of the nutrients are. The organs meet first. They literally kind of, put brush on it or whatever. All of that muscle meat, the T-bone, the ribeye, all of that. If they can't catch another animal, they'll come back and they'll eat the muscle meat. And that just really stood out to me of like, we have got it so wrong. We immediately go to, hey, we're going to eat the animal muscle, but we're missing out on all of the nutrients. Now, I've got to do some serious programming here. Like, I know this, but I'm like, man, I don't want to eat liver and onions, and I sure don't want, fish eyes. That but maybe I just haven't had my palate, expanded to those horizons.
Sure. Yeah. And maybe you haven't tried really well made liver. Maybe your palate can't handle it, but you are programmed to think it's not going to be good. And so you don't try it, ever again. I think a lot of people are that way. And another quick rumor that a lot of people hear and believe is that the liver is where all of the toxins are stored. And that's not true. The liver is where toxins go to get neutralized because there's so many excellent nutrients in the liver to neutralize toxins. And there are ways of preparation in case there are any, toxins not yet neutralized there, you can soak it in lemon juice. That helps to neutralize them. So just want to throw that out there. That's a great thing to know.
Okay, so we have seed oils, we have healthy fats, we have meat on the bone, we have organ, and then the nasty bits is what you've said a couple times.
Yeah.
What's the next thing?
Next thing is strategies of soaked, sprouted, fermented. And this especially pertains to grains. Grains and seeds are very, in their natural form, very detrimental to the digestive system. A lot of very damaging things naturally in seeds. Seeds are in a storage form. They want to not be activated. They want to not be digested. There are enzyme inhibitors that stop the enzymes from growing, from becoming a plant. And we have enzymes in our stomach that help digest. So if we don't first soak those grains to make the enzyme inhibitors slough off and go away, we get those in our stomach. They fight our digestion, and they're terrible.
And it's so fascinating because foods do have natural insecticides, right? And what is an insecticide? It's something that you put on food so that bugs don't eat it. And we're just a bigger bug. And so when I was reading, I don't know if it was in Deep Nutrition or if it was in the carnivore diet, or I was reading one of those books that they're saying, look, if you don't prepare plants and seeds effectively, like, you can poison yourself with it, because the plants they want to live, they want to reproduce, they want to function, they have these protective mechanisms. If we're not taking away those protective mechanisms by properly preparing food, this is one of the reasons why I think food allergies and food sensitivity to the food, it's you're allergic to how that food is prepared.
Correct. Throughout time, our ancestors realized what preparation techniques will help prepare a food to be digested, and that's culinary arts in its original state. And we need to be aware of that, and not just be like, well, you just make it edible and then you eat it. So soaking does a lot to help. Sprouting does even more. So, for example, gluten is a storage form protein that, again, is very caustic to the digestive system. So if you soak a seed, rinse it now and then, it will slowly change into a plant. It will unpack that storage protein of gluten and make it much less damaging to the system. And then going even further, fermentation helps, uses beneficial bacteria to break down a food even more, to pre-digest it so that it takes less energy from our digestive system, from our bodies, and makes those nutrients more accessible.
Okay, so then the last takeaway that we wanted to share with people tonight is what? Fresh,
which means a few different things. It can mean not too much time passing from harvesting, sitting around in your fridge, letting nutrients slough into the air, and as well as raw. So some foods, in the right ways, the right times, raw. And that's vegetable products as well as animal products. So vegetable, green salad with vegetables that are easy to digest with a good fat or oil to help with digestion. And then animal products, it might be harder to think of animal products that you can have raw, but a good example is quality egg yolks. So think of a sunny side up egg with a runny yolk. That's a good example. Raw milk is another great example. Buying raw milk in the store, just about for sure, they're going to be using good practices to raise that cow, because they know that milk's going to be served raw, and so it's more important for it to be safe and tested for bacteria.
And I grew up on raw milk, and everybody thought we were, nuts for having it.
Same.
And it tastes so much better, and as we're putting this together, like, we're going to be pushing the paradigms and the horrible, USDA food triangle and a lot of the quote accepted truths, because they're accepted doesn't mean they're true. It just means that we've had a couple generations that we've been teaching, hey, you know what, a high-fat diet is bad, and if you eat fats, you're going to be fat, and, sugar really doesn't impact your health, and all this other, the craziness is out there, that as I see it in practice every day, as people kind of unlearn that, and again, getting their intelligence in front of some of the program than they had. And so that's the goal of our program. This is just a real quick teaser on, basically, there's 5 lessons that we wanted to share with you, healthy fats, meat on the bone, organ meats, washing and sprouting foods, and basically healthy and alive foods. The healthier and alive your foods are, the healthier alive you're going to be. So Jesse and I have we're in the process of doing this life, food, university, medicine program that we're so excited. We're doing a whole bunch of work behind the scenes. This is kind of a teaser into that whole program. And so if you'd like more information, all you have to do is pay attention to our social media channels. We're putting this up on Facebook and YouTube. We're creating a course and education and materials that are going to follow after this. And it's not all about, hey, let's restrict calories and let's get your weight down. That's naturally going to happen if you have the right nutrients. Your body gets satisfied, it gets satiated. It's so fun to work with a food expert. That's our program tonight, Dr. West and Jesse, and we'll see you guys on the next program next week. We'll see you later.
See you. Thanks.